Hello, sir. Okay.
I may have forgotten to include my video camera, but it's okay. We're back, baby. Welcome to another episode of Marvel Buddies. This is kind of trash, but hey, how's it going? How you doing, addicts?
Doing good.
Awesome, awesome. So, hopefully, you didn't see anything at all that happened.
It's just your eyes.
It's just my eyes. Let's close that. Let's see. Awesome. Um, so. We're back again with another episode of Marvel Buddies. How are you, addicts? My boy.
I'm doing great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good to hear. Um, so are you ready to get cracking into today's episode? I did do a little bit of work for this week's character or characters or team or event that I want you to guess here. And I had to include a blank page so you wouldn't cheat your way through this. So
I
can you guess who we're doing this week?
mean, there's literally every Marvel character possible.
There is, but I'll give you a hint. This week we are talking about a duo. All right, a duo. Um, their real names are Tandy Bowen and Tyrone Johnson.
So we are doing Cloak and Dagger this
Yes,
week.
sir. Cloak and Dagger this week. Just wanna, I was thinking, you guys didn't say anything. All right, so before we get started this week on Cloak and Dagger, I just want you guys to know that I did give a major kind of backstory here, just talking about their powers, and who they are, how they came to be about, just because these characters aren't in movies. They have a Hulu TV show. It's really good. For those who haven't seen it, I think it's great, and it's a little different. It talks about what happens to the characters and like their origins and whatnot. It's really good. Um, does a little crossover with the Runaways, who may show up in today's episode. But so these characters were written by Bill Mantlo and debuted in the Spectacular Spider-Man number 64 in 1976. That was the first time they appeared, and these guys are like very much so Punisher style of characters when they debuted, but over time have become more of like hero, good guy kind of thing, kind of characters. Um, as the story has progressed. And I really wish I got a chance to cover like these guys are great. They are awesome characters, and I really wish I got to cover more of their story. If you guys want to know more about Cloak and Dagger or want to read your own Cloak and Dagger comics, that email address that's posted, you guys can send me a message on that or on the Twitter page. I'm pretty sure it's just Marvel Buddies Podcast. Um, But if I'm not mistaken, I very much don't use that. But if you guys want to send a DM to me or at me on that, you guys can. Um, yeah. But so just to get into these characters, we'll talk about Tyrone Johnson, aka Cloak, who was born on the south side of Boston. Really good student, bad stuttering problems, like could not speak, kind of like you know, like stuttering Bill from the It movies. And he had a friend named Billy, and you know Billy would help him like overcome his stuttering issues. But you know, one time the two of them were coming out of whatever, they were hanging out or whatever, and they witnessed a bank robbery. And in that bank robbery, they saw the police were coming, and they didn't want to be, you know, a part of it, so they decided to run away from the crime scene. But you know, not usually a good sign to see two people running away from an active crime scene, so the police chase them down, and Tyrone tries to
Not ideal.
yeah, definitely not ideal. Um, Tyrone tries his best to what's the word, like speak out and cover for him, but that stuttering issue doesn't let him get any like coherent words out, and Billy gets shot. And as a result of, you know, this, he kind of blames himself. He runs away. He heads to New York City, where um he's on the bus. So on his he takes like a Greyhound. So in the Port Authority bus terminal, he meets one Tandy Bowen, aka Dagger, where she having no money and Tandy coming from a fairly wealthy father, who worked for the Roxxon company. If anyone is aware of Roxxon, really big major company. But Tyrone tries to steal from her, but he stops himself, realizing it's probably not the right idea. And in hesitating, someone else robs Tandy, and so Tyrone jumps in the way, tackles him, gets Tandy's purse back, and gives it to her, and decides that he's just gonna stay with her. But since they have nowhere to go, very little money, and no jobs or anything, and they're in New York, you know, really crazy, hectic place to be in, they get a really like too good to be true offer from one Dr. Simon Marshall, who he's a pharmacist, and he offered them like shelter and food at Ellis Island, but secretly he was working for the gang known as the Magia, and he was developing a drug named D-Light. This drug was supposed to be the next synthetic replacement to heroin, and it was supposed to make it so that the people could not, like, they were extremely addicted and like couldn't they needed more delight. And so at Ellis Island, he had a bunch of patients that he would treat. Most of them would die, but when they gave it to Tandy and Tyrone, the drugs is what ended up giving them their powers. A side note: Dr. Simon Marshall is also responsible for creating the villain known as Mr. Negative. If you guys know who he is the doctor, or the Mr. Negative runs the what is it, Fee Shelter. He's the main villain in that first Spider-Man game for the PS5 or PS4 or whatever. But just to get into Cloak's powers really quickly, he's a conduit of the Dark Force, and basically there's a couple of characters that are really famous for summoning the Dark Force. More notable characters include Cloak and Dagger, as well as Sunspot Roberto da Costa. His powers come directly from the Dark Force. Mr. Negative, and a bunch of other different characters that draw their powers from there. And basically what happens is because he draws his powers from the Dark Force, he gets this craving that he always needs to like consume. So anyone that he ever like draws into his cloak, um basically he can absorb their life force and take it to feed the Dark Force conduit that's in him. Um a lot of different things. But Tandy can also kind of like cure his cravings through what's considered like a pocket dimension in that dimension known as the Light Force. Hence why she has like the light daggers. Um, but Cloak can also channel his powers to create a like a field of darkness, and in doing so, people who are ever caught in that darkness feel like cold and numb, and they see visions of like terrible things, mostly nightmares. Um, and over long exposure to being in said like darkness can actually leave people to go like insane. The only person who has actually not gotten said has not become insane from being put inside of Cloak's like Dark Force hold is Carnage because he's already insane. So I don't think you can double insane someone. Addicts, can you? Do you think you can double insane someone?
No,
Yeah, definitely not.
definitely
All right, cool.
not.
Then once they're insane, they're insane. um,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, people generally say that they feel like cold and numb when they're inside of him. But um, so most people, unlike most people will like usually succumb and slowly like wither to the power of the Dark Force. However, um, Daggers is can protect herself using the Light Force from it, and it's why there two of them are together. Um, yeah. However, we got to talk about Cloak's like really main ability, and it's the ability to teleport. So the way it works,
The
it's
ability to just warp around the map.
yep. So the way it
Pretty
works
cool.
is if you've ever played Minecraft, it works exactly the way the Nether would. He basically goes into the said portal, like which is himself. Um, and when he's in there, he kind of like can walk a small distance, but when he comes out onto Earth, he would have moved like miles. So the way the Nether works is in Minecraft is kind of the way Cloak's teleportation works. And if in like blatant plain terms, it's instantaneous and there's a lot more to it, you know. But to make it like simple, um, basically like when he if he walks a small distance upon returning to Earth, he's traveled a greater distance. He can also teleport people with him. Like I said, Dagger, because of her connection to that dark force, is immune to the insanity and whatnot. And Cloak can also turn his body intangible, making it so that you can't hit him. However, Tandy's light daggers, as well as prolonged exposure to the light, can nullify said exposure. Um, I'm pretty sure Spider-Man has punched him in the face before. Um, so I don't know. It's not usually a thing, but that it's not very seen very often. But it's a thing that he does have, and he's also really strong. He can lift about twice his body weight, so about 310 pounds, and he loses his stuttering with the biggest power that he gets when he is in his cloak persona, when he's enveloped that dark power. And then
You gotta respect it.
you gotta respect it. And then you have his counterpart in Dagger, who very simple, not that many powers compared to Cloak, but she has 6-inch light daggers that she can throw from her fingertips. The way like Jubilee throws out her fireworks, or Black Claw throws out her like claws, or Black Cat throws out her claws. But she can throw those daggers from her fingertips, and her daggers like pretty much they have like a tracking feature, and they can ricochet depending on how much power she puts into it. They might also summon automatically under certain conditions, such as if she's in danger or someone else she knows is in danger. The range of how far the daggers, when they're thrown, goes is unknown, but the further the distance, the weaker they get. She has a limited control of the daggers like flight, and
So if they make a complete full circle around the Earth, it does no damage.
probably not. What would happen is most likely,
So like a little.
yeah, most likely it wouldn't even go that far. And sometimes it might just disappear. But if she wanted to put all her powers into seeing how fast and far she could throw her light daggers, she probably could. Um, but it probably would dissipate like after a while of just throwing it.
How long?
Is that is that your impression of Tandy throwing a light dagger there? Thumbs up for me, buddy. Um, but again, they seem to be weaker. The farther they go, and they're very effective. The tracking is very effective in searching for cloak. Um, the people that are hit by the knife will also have their own life force destroyed the same way that cloak saps life force energy. She can drain either a portion or kill someone completely if she wanted to with her daggers. Um, or most of the time what she does is leave them in some sort of state of shock in which they get visions. And with these visions, unlike Cloak's nightmares, she gives them visions of what they could have been if they didn't go down this corrupt dark path. Um, yeah, it's been so powerful that most criminals change their ways and rethink their life, although a few criminals stayed like really evil people like Carnage might not. Um, Dagger also has the ability to remove like toxins and substances from people, as well as the ability to cure drug addicts. Like, she can cure drug
That's just a
addictions.
oddly specific ability.
Yup. Yup. You are
Almost
you
like it's
addicted
gonna
to
come into
drugs?
play.
Are you addicted to drugs? You
Call
better
one
call
eight
Tandy
hundred
Bowen.
dagger.
For real, cause yeah, she could honestly. All right, I've heard a really good like job the opportunity for them on a separate Marvel podcast, in which they mentioned that they could set up like a clinic in which you like come in and you're like, all right, $5 and I'll cure your disease or whatever, and they walk in, Tandy hits them with the blast of light, and then they're like, they're cured, and if they need to go anywhere, she could just teleport with Cloak. So it's like, oh, like a phone call or whatever. She could like a phone company and be like, hey, I'm sick, but I'm in Seattle. Just poof, now you're there, cure. Oh, hey, I'm back in New York. Can I poof back cure? You know? So it's like, I mean, if they weren't superheroes, they could probably set up a really good like a really good job opportunity for themselves with said powers. Um,
Bro, on a complete side note, I've been looking at that SI bracket.
Oh, have you seen it? Yeah. So for those who don't know, Addicts and I do play
Ooh.
Rainbow Six Siege a lot. I don't know if you can tell, but I do have my space station jersey right back there. Unfortunate day for us. We won the first game, but lost to Team Empire. If you didn't see the match, it was freaking banger of a match, gotta say. But it was a sad day for my boys. But it has been good. Anyway, Cloak and Dagger.
I wanna watch that OXG versus Phase. I wanna watch
I
that.
didn't see that one, but it was too early in the morning for me. It's like 3 a.m.
Yeah, yeah. When I woke up this morning, like they were talking about the Elevate Sonics match, and
Oh, I
apparently
I
that
watched
was
that
just
one. I woke
a
up fairly
banger.
early for it. I think. Was that going on at this or no, maybe I watched yeah, I saw Sonics versus Damwon. That's the other one I was watching. Anyway,
Anyway,
Cloak and Dagger, Cloak and Dagger. Anyway, Dagger her lights can pass through her light can go and project in people who are in Cloak's Darkhold, as well as she can use her light as a beacon. Um, she's also Tandy by herself without the powers is an incredible acrobat. She's a ballerina first, but she's also been blinded to the point where her abilities have gotten so heightened she can move without needing to see where she's going. And then the one thing that needs to be stated is that Tandy's light daggers cannot hit non-living beings. They have no effect on people who are not living. So she might have a hard time fighting someone like Ultron, um, because they're not alive, or a zombie character because they're not alive. Um, right? Non-living beings are immune to Tandy's light daggers. Um, but if you guys don't have any questions, addicts, do you have any questions on this on their powers?
no.
Okay, cool. If I'm gonna get started on the number one issue, their debut issue, which is like I said, Spectacular Spider-Man number 64.
Of
Um,
course.
almost every character debuts in a Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Hulk, or Avengers comic. Most of them,
But
well,
all Spider-Man
almost
movies.
always Spider-Man though. Like Spider-Man is just like because most of these characters are East Coast characters, New York's characters. They're pretty much you're gonna run into either like some kind of Hulk Avengers kind of comic or Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four. Maybe if you're talking about mutants, you'll run into like the X-Men, but it's like more often than not, most of these characters are gonna be Spider-Man characters. I mean, like Kingpin, Daredevil, just Spider-Man. Mostly, actually, I think Daredevil debuted by himself, but um, yeah, it's like most of these characters, like Black Panther debuted in a Fantastic Four comic. A lot of other characters have debuted in one of those like main couple of characters, but let's just get into Cloak and Dagger here. So pretty much it starts out with Spider-Man. He's web swinging. Some dude's like, "Hey, help me, please!" And Spider-Man comes down and he lands right across this dude. This dude right here, we would later find out is Doctor Simon Marshall. This is him. But basically, he
All
was like,
right.
he's really he's freaking out. He's like, I know what I did was wrong, but the money, it was too good to be true. That I took it, and he's like, what'd you take it for? The drugs. And he's like, Spider-Man's trying to like console him. He's like, all right, you start at the beginning. He's
Hey,
like,
I know someone that can cure those addictions.
yeah, I don't think those people want to. I don't think they want to cure his addiction. I think they want to cure him from life if I want to be frank. But basically, he's talking about how he's like you got to start at the beginning, and he's like I used to be a pharmacist, but you know I ran into debt, and these people came up to me and said that if I did some experiments for them, they'd pay me and I'd be rich. And so if all I had to do was make drugs, illegal drugs, but I didn't know that it'd be used the way they used it, and which is kind of horseshit, but whatever. And then Cloak comes in. Cloak and Dagger immediately show up, and they're like, "We've come for you, us Cloak and Dagger. They're here. They're ready to deal." And they're talking. They're like, you got so much to pay." And immediately, Spider-Man falls in love with Tandy. Like, I mean, first thing she's like, "Damn, she's hot." But but while Spider-Man goes to tackle Cloak, Dr. Marshall just dips, makes a break for it, and Spider-Man is just like, first of all, look at these spider cheeks, but second of all, just enveloped right into those, right into that cloak of darkness, and
Whoa!
whoa, hey, who turned out the lights? Ha ha ha.
I dove into his cape.
Yeah, he did. He did dive into said cape. Um, but basically Spider-Man he falls inside the like dark dimension. He's in there. He says it's freezing and darkness is muting his spider senses. He can't get out. Um and while that's happening, the doctor's trying to make a run for it. He's like, I gotta make it over to the other roof. And here's Dagger's incredible ballet and gymnastics ability. And yeah, she she lands right in front of the doctor and she's like, your next step is your last. And immediately she just shoots those light daggers onto him. He's like, but he's trying to like the doctor's trying to talk his way out of it. He's like, please, I know what you're gonna do, and you can't do this. You're not judge, jury, and executioner. I'll serve my time. And basically at the end she's like, there's no, you're gonna serve justice in like death, pretty much. You're gonna die here. That's your justice. And
It's over for you.
what up? And he apologizes. She's like, sorry, can't come close to what you've done, and she murks him with said daggers. Dude's just gone, dead as hell. Um, and while that's happening, Spider-Man finally like squirms his way and wiggles his way out of Cloak's cloak, and it's gonna be really hard trying to figure out those words, but basically he flung his way out and he makes a break for it, like smacks Cloak and backs up kind of. And in doing so, he goes to the dead body and he's like, "No, you killed him." And he's like, "Yep, that's why we're here to kill this dude." And while that happens, like Spider-Man's just trying to figure out like how it happened. Like it's like there's blood frozen in his veins, and he's like they're telling him like, "Yep, his crime fit his punishment." Guys, these guys believe that death is the only probable solution to making drugs. If you make drugs, you're dead. You're dead as hell. No
But
justice
don't she
system.
have an ability
Dead.
that can literally cure addiction?
She does, but like I said,
What?
this guy right here, Dr.
Oh, but if
Simon
you make
Marshall,
drugs, no, you're done
he
for.
made the drug, and he made the drug that gave them their power, which we find out later. But
What?
they want blood. They're out for blood, dude.
I can
And
respect it though. I
yeah,
can respect
so
it.
can I.
Of just letting the villains go.
Yeah. Unlike this guy who lets the Green Goblin puts him in jail and then lets him come out the next day to pumpkin bomb a old lady in the middle of the streets or something like that. God, what a menace to society this guy is, and
An
his nice
absolute
spider chief.
menace.
Absolute menace.
The
Anyway,
absolute menace himself.
Any anyway, Spider-Man's pretty pissed off. He's like, "Who nominated you to the Supreme Court?" But these guys are criminals, but even criminals have rights. And he's like, "Not in the eyes of Cloak and Dagger, dude. They're criminals." And Spider-Man tries to basically tries to hit him, but Tandy's too agile. Which I mean, in theory, I mean, she's a ballet person, and he has spider powers. I mean, eh, but whatever. Not gonna say anything. Whatever, you know. Anyway, he she dodges. He throws some light daggers at him, and he tries to dodge him by swinging around a building, but they track, and so he pretty much tries to see if the daggers can go through solid objects or not. And so he goes by a water tower, and some of the daggers get clipped on the water tower, but the other like two of them are clipped. The other two keep going. And while he lands, Cloak teleports right next to him. He's like, "Oh, where'd you come from? Out of the shadows, and to bring you into the darkness." Like such a sick quote, by the way.
That's
And
a
and like Cloak is a freaking badass, gotta say. And again, he cloaks him up, grabs him inside the dark force, and in he goes. And he gets smacked by the daggers, and that's it. That's the end. Spider-Man is dead now. The end. Nah,
all right.
I'm messing with you. She doesn't actually go about killing him because she knows that he's actually a hero, and she leaves. She kind of like leaves him there. She tries to incapacitate him, and Cloak and Dagger head up there on the other roof. They regroup, and Spider-Man, well, literally it says every organ of his body shudders with upheaval. He literally gets up and tries to stop them. Cloak and Dagger talk about how he is an admirable opponent and hopes that his pain doesn't last long. It lasts long. And they teleport. He gets smacked and just ends up laying there like a little bitch. Crying in the fetal position as he got hit by freaking light daggers. Um,
That's a big rip.
and while that happens, the police arrive. They're like, "Huh, the neighbors reported a disturbance here," and they talk to Spider-Man, and they realize that the guy that is dead there is Simon Marshall, who's been on an all points bulletin. All of New York has been out looking for him, and basically, they wanted to arrest Spider-Man, but they let him go because they got this guy, and he's like, "Oh, he's a former drug runner. I don't know if I should take you in or take you out to dinner." And Spider-Man jumps off the building, heads home, and sleeps it off, pretty much. But the next afternoon, back at work, he heads to the Daily Bugle, and he talks to this one dude, Mac Stennett. Never see him again. Like, he has the job for the Daily Bugle for like half an hour. I swear. This is his job. Um, and he wants to know if he can find any information on Cloak and Dagger. And basically he's like, "Hey, did you find anything?" And he's like, "Marshall was a pharmacist, heavy on illegal drugs." So, and Peter's like, "So what did he deal in?" And he's like, "Nothing that we know of. Stuff so new, like you've never heard of them. They're not even listed in medical journals or anything." And he was working for the mob, and an informant tipped the police earlier this year that he was based in Ellis Island. The place where most people would come to America to get a start a new life. A lot of European people were there, and they give a little history on Ellis Island. Google it. This is a Marvel podcast, not a history podcast, guys. Anyway, um, they found when the police entered, they found a bunch of kids there, and pretty much they were all dead, bunch of dead kids, and they'd been dead for about half an hour, and they pretty much like it's a result of the drugs that were given to them by Simon Marshall, and they'd been developed by the mob and given to the kids to test to see if they could become addicted, and pretty much he's like so who are the kids? Why they take the drugs? And they're like they don't know. Most of them were runaways. Um, they first stepped into who just first stepped into New York, and they were given he makes a Wizard of Oz reference that they wanted to find Oz, but when they got out of Ellis Island, they you know, or when they got out of the Port Authority bus terminal, they were hurled to Ellis Island before they could get on the yellow brick road. It's a freaking um, Wizard of Oz reference that follow the yellow brick road. Follow the
Follow
yellow
the
brick
yellow
road.
brick.
Yellow.
Lava.
Yeah. He got it. Anyway, before we got copy, right? Anyway, he's like, I don't want. He's like, I don't. He's like, So basically, he's like, what's your interest in all this, Peter? Like, what's about? What do you, why? And he's like, I don't know. It's just kind of curious. And that's a little BS because he changes immediately into a spider suit, swings by the stat, and heads to Ellis Island, where he spider gliders his way in. It Yes, he can do this. I don't know how much web fluid this is or if this is a natural thing that he has, but in the original Spider-Man comics, he did have the little like glider flaps under his arm. Um, this to be fair, this is Spectacular Spider-Man and not Amazing Spider-Man, so something different. But
Okay.
he glides his way into Ellis Island. And one of the lights immediately snap on, and while he's going, he hears
It sure is
yeah, and
spectacular.
sure is spectacular. He's got
That
spectacular
don't sound
cheeks here.
right.
Anyway, uh, inside he hears like screaming, and like he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check it out, cause you know it surely can't be ghosts. I've been sitting on my leg for so long it went numb. Pain. Addict's pain. I sat on my leg for so long. Oh, 30 minutes of me sitting on my leg and it went numb. Anyway, basically he's like, ghosts don't need illumination. That could be Cloak and Dagger. And basically,
I already know their names.
yeah. Well, they did immediately say their name. So, he
No.
cha- he changes his web fluid and heads in, and he's right on the money. Ow, you guys. Ow. Hold on. I'm gonna raise my chair here. So you guys can see my face. But ow, pain. Um. Anyway, he gets a bunch of the people that used to work for the Magia, and the guy's like, "Oh, you can't do this to me. Where am I? What do you want?" And this dude's basically like, I just run I was running numbers down the Lancy Street, and the people there are like, um, basically the people are like, he's like, they're basically like, they know who you are, bro. They know who you are. They took you in for a reason. They know your real name is Joey Tartaglione, real Italian name, by the way. And basically he was saying that they were here. They were two of the kids, and he's like, the kids. It can't be. All the kids are dead. He killed all the kids, and and basically he's like, they got Marshall Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, they got Marshall Joey. They knew all our names, all our hangouts. And basically it's like Dagger and I survived, and the guy's telling us, he's like, please let us go. We'll turn ourselves into the DA. And he was like, Tandy's like, there was a time when we pleaded for you to let us go, but and be with our families, but you wouldn't let us go. And then you get hit with one of them flashbacks, and basically here are some of the kids, and he's like, you'll leave when we let you leave, punk. When we're done with you, and not before. And here's Marshall getting ready to inject this dude with freaking heroin, and or I guess it's D-Light, and he's putting the drugs in, and talking about here's him. He's talking about his drugs and whatnot and how they're gonna be very rich. And they drugged him up, threw him into the cell with everybody else. This is also Tandy, by the way. She's pleading how she's sick and about to die, but she pretty much goes kind of like and says that she wasn't dying, but the most alive she'd had ever been, and basically the others were less fortunate. This dude just died here, and they're talking about how the kids are dying. The drug is killing them, and two of them were missing. Could you guess which two? And he's like they're not gonna last long with the drugs in the system. And he's like, so you blew it, doc. Your synthetic addiction's a bust. And he's like, pretty much. He suggested that they cut their losses. The
I
drug they
needed the
administer,
money.
yeah, the drug they administer them will kill them. And if they leave now, the police won't learn anything about the corpses because the drug will dissipate before anyone thinks to even search for Ellis Island. And so they leave. Um, and he was right. Most of the kids died. But not all. Basically, they made it out, and because of something in their body, chemistry, there's something in their body chemistry, that were different from the other kids. The drugs turned them into Cloak and Dagger. But um, if you guys do want to watch the Runaways TV show, they talk about how they got their power from a Roxxon explosion, which I think is a lot cooler than just being drugged up kids. Um, and because
I
Tandy's dad
mean,
worked for the Roxxon oil company, and
hey kids,
yeah,
all you have to do is get addicted to drugs.
yeah, for sure.
Then you will have powers such as Cloak and
Cloak
Dagger.
and Dagger's powers, yeah. No wonder
Two
the
drugs if you want to become Cloak and Dagger.
for real. I mean,
This
like
stream is sponsored by heroin.
buy heroin, yeah, cool for sure. Or is Walter White coming like is he a guest star on our podcast now? Um,
Yes.
but I mean like it's kind of like
Drugs are
why
bad.
I'm pretty sure yeah, drugs are bad. But I'm pretty sure this is
Drugs are
like a
bad.
main staple
Good.
for why the Comic Code Authority was like put in. They're like, yeah, you guys are talking about drugs too much. You gotta chill it there,
They
bro.
literally have two characters created by
By
drugs.
drugs, yeah.
Imagine, like,
I
I
mean,
got addicted to heroin because I want to be like Cloak,
yeah,
out
that's
of the shadows
tragic.
and into the darkness.
Definitely. Very tragic. Anyway, while they're giving their long backstory, Spider-Man was listening. He breaks down the window and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me? Instead of fighting, I would have helped you bring these vermin to justice." And while they're fighting, she's like, "I don't want justice. It's not justice. I want Spider-Man. It's vengeance. These men must die." And he's like, "No, that'll only make you guys criminals." And what with all the glass that had shattered, this dude basically starts cutting himself loose. And um, basically while Cloak is trying to envelop Dagger in his cloak, or Cloak is trying to envelop Spider-Man in his cloak, I should say. Dagger makes like a light so that she could hit him, but when that happens, this dude basically grabs a piece of like wood or a guitar or whatever. I don't know what the hell he hits her with, but he hits Tandy in the back of the head and takes her as his hostage. And he says he's like, none of you heroes move. The same silver glass that sliced my ropes will end this babe's life. And they basically all make a run for it. And while that happens, Spider-Man's like, no, they can't get far. Don't worry. And Cloak is like, don't worry, they won't get far at all. He just immediately teleports to them. Um, and they head into like this dark, abandoned facility. They're like, oh, we can't see what's happening. And while that happens, Spider-Man shows up and he pretty much like un hostage situation removes her from said hostage situation. I don't know how to explain removing someone from a hostage situation, but he kicks the guy in the face and then Freeze saves Tandy. And he's like, "Oh no, Spider-Man found us. We gotta run. He got the girl. There's nowhere for us to go." And they all run directly into the path of Cloak, in which he envelops them all into his cloak. And
His Cloak and Dagger.
yep, and Dagger, his cloak and
Old
dagger.
comics.
Yep, like the name of the comic. Anyway, um, they'll never be
Hey,
light. They'll never again be the light for the likes of you. He's like, oh no, they're gonna kill us for what he did to him, and for what we and Marshall did to the kids, for what what we almost did to his girlfriend. He'll never let us live to see the. And then he's like, look, light. And he's like, ah, light, light. And they all start running to the light. And he's like, even Cloak couldn't keep us in darkness forever. They all just book it to the light. Addicts, what's the one thing you shouldn't do when you're dying?
Yeah, book it to the light.
Book it to the light. He's like, oh, we're
Don't
free.
walk into
And
the light.
they walk. It's like, oh my god, the light. It was the moon shining through the window. And they all fall to their death and die. Literally, all of them. Straight through. Spider-Man's like, we're 5 stories up. There's no way anyone could have survived the fall from that. And he's like, they sought the light. I let them find them. The Cloak is such a freaking badass dude. And like they're like this guy. I want an MCU movie of just them two, like fighting drug addicts. Like, it'd be really sick, dude. It's like just some dude like they legalized weed in New York. It'd be really wild if just some dude just smoking like pot in the corner of the street, and Cloak and Dagger are just like, this my worst enemy, drugs, and just start like throwing light daggers at him, and Cloak starts enveloping like everyone in
Dagger
New
take-
York.
Cloak takes his mask off and he's like, drugs are bad.
Drugs. It's Mr.
Okay.
Mackey.
Drugs are bad. Out of the shadows. Okay.
Out
into
of the
darkness.
shadows, okay.
Okay.
And basically,
Let's go shoot up the school.
Oh yeah, Butters. God. Oh man. Anyway,
This episode of Marvel Buddies, this is not for the faint of heart.
not for the faint of heart at all. Anyway, basically they're talking about is like what you call justice has been done. No one will ever live to tell the tale except for you. And he's like, so what's gonna happen now? And he's like, nothing. It's over for us. And they teleport, and that's how the comic ends. Spider-Man is completely frustrated, distraught, like
He's just in the darkness.
in the darkness. Yep, in a dark building.
Tonight he will sleep with the lights on.
Yeah, for real.
Dun dun.
And that's pretty much it for that debut comic for Cloak and Dagger. But for the most part, pretty much Cloak and Dagger were a big time duo up until 2000s. They like were inseparable, always in New York, always taking on crime together. Um Around the 2000s is when they stopped being like a big thing with each other. Um like I wanted to cover the Dark Avengers event because they played a pivotal role in that. They were in the Dark Avengers event, the two of them worked for Emma Frost's Dark X-Men team, in which the two of them
Okay.
were undercover. Um they were undercover on Emma Frost's team, trying to like realizing that she had been playing a part in Norman Osborn's rise to leading Hammer, which is the new Shield, and setting up the Dark Avengers. Um, the roster consisted of a bunch of different like villains, including Venom as Spider-Man, Bullseye as Hawkeye, um, someone else as Captain Marvel, just a bunch of different people. And I did want to talk about that one because it was important to their backstory, as they'd always been together. But what I ended up covering was Runaways number 9 through 10, 11, 14, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's a 4-issue miniseries that I have here, in which Dagger is beaten, like brutally beaten to death, and taken to a hospital, and everyone blames Cloak because there's camera footage of the back of Cloak and Tandy just getting beaten up. This is a really good solo Cloak comic. If you guys are interested in a solo Dagger comic in which the two of them are together fighting crime together, but they're not together, this one that I'm holding here, which is Cloak and Dagger and the Shades of Grey. This one's also a pretty good comic. It's a 6-issue miniseries, and it's actually pretty good. If you guys have any other like questions surrounding Cloak and Dagger on like Duo Comics, you can always again DM me on Twitter. I'm pretty sure it's Marvel Buddies Podcast, or on the email marvelousmarvelbuddies at gmail, and I will get to you guys and give you whatever comic recommendations I have for Cloak and Dagger or anybody else for that matter. But this is a Runaways comic. At the time, for anyone who hasn't seen the Runaway show, at one point Alex Wilder splits off from the team. If you remember, I did cover a little bit of the Runaways in our Marvel Weapons um episode. This includes characters like Nico Minoru, who has the Staff of One, or Gertrude. Forget her last name. York. Yeah, she has the Gertrude York has the freaking telepathic connection to the Velociraptor. Um, but they added an extra. Basically, with Alex leaving, they introduced an extra kind of character to the Runaways, which is this guy Victor Mancha, the son of Ultron. He is a complete robot and has the abilities to control the electromagnetic spectrum. Very similar to Magneto, but he's part robot.
And
Um,
doesn't want the United Nations.
and he doesn't want the United Nations, and he's a 14, 15-year-old child. Anyway, um, so in New York, here's like Dagger. They're talking. He's like, oh, she was just another runaway, but turns out she's a superhero. Or like she was. Now she's a super vegetable. When that hooded freak dropped her off last night, she was supposedly still wearing some kind of costume. He's like, oh, what was her name? Lady Blade or something like that. And Cloak shows up and he's like, her name was Dagger. They're like, you were the lowlife who did it. And he's like, get the hell out of here before I call security. Yeah, this guy. And by the way, to prove that Cloak is even more of a badass, I mean, leave now or you'll be the next patient admitted would be you. This, I mean, like what an absolute badass. Anyway, they run off. He's over there. He's like, "Oh, Tandy, it's Cloak. You must forgive me, my love." And out of the corner, someone says, "It's too late for that, Tyrone. It's none other than Captain America. It's time for you to go, son." And Cloak, he's hovering over Tandy, but he's like, "I'm many things, Captain, but I'm not your son." And he busts out the window. Um, Captain America calls. He's telling him it's up. Jessica's up. My heart palpitates every time, bro. Best Spider-Man character or is Spider-Woman, bro. I even got a little heart here on the corner. This is every time she's up, I've got a little heart. So my favorite Spider character is Jessica Drew here. Anyway, um, she gives her the line. She's like, "How could you? She was your partner." He's like, "Oh, Spider Woman with Captain America." So the rumors are true. The Avengers are back, and I'll explain more about this new Avengers roster. But basically, he's like, as long as crap needs avenging, and she zaps him, knocking him out into the streets, and this is Luke Cage. He tells him, he's like, you gotta stay down, Cage. And he's like, oh, I too, Cage. And he's like, ah, hell no, don't even play that race card. They got a tape of you beating the life out of the girl. And he's like, oh, the young ones, I remember. Upon getting knocked unconscious and getting hit in the head on the floor, he's falling head first. He starts remembering things. Little backstory, which we'll get into anyway. He was supposed to help out the Runaways, but the parents of the Runaways wiped his mind completely. So he didn't remember anything about them. Upon hitting his head here, he remembers them now, and he teleports away. And he's like, "Sorry, Cap, I let him go." But this dude here, very important background man. This man right here, very important background man. And I mean, more important than this weird dude or this weird dude. This guy's very important. Anyway, they're in LA. The Runaways are down below the like a museum or zoo of some kind, and they're playing Monopoly, talking about wanting to be the glass shot glass, but it's a thimble. Anyway, they're playing Monopoly. Um, Vic here is upset. He's like, "Hey man, don't you got any video games?" And they're like, "Nope,
Only Monopoly.
only Monopoly." And Chase, guy in the green, gets up. He's dating Gertrude over here. He gets up and he's like, "I gotta go pee." And Vic's like, "I don't know what you see in him. If I ever live to see 100, I'll never understand what you see in him." It's Gert. She's like, none of us will live to that, but it's Chase. It's one thing that Chase knows better than everyone, because Chase's parents helped develop a tube that allowed uh Cata Cataline Katarine one of the other kids' parents to Carolina. Yeah, there you go. Her parents one of their space aliens, and they needed this tube that would grant them immortality. And Chase's parents helped, or Chase's parents helped develop it. Um, but here's Chase. He's talking to Nico, and he's like, "Oh, like, so what am I supposed to call you? Our brave leader?" And he's like, we haven't fought anyone in weeks. I'm not a leader. I'm a den mother." And so there's a lot of like teen nonsense here, but pretty much he's like, "Oh, it's Carolina's." Like, "Oh yeah, she's been away in another galaxy, space alien." Very similar to Captain Marvel. If you guys remember, I'll show you a picture if you guys want. Here's Carolina Dean. I spelled that wrong, but whatever. This is her. Glows. This is her in the TV show. She pretty much like glows. She's Captain Marvel-esque vibes, like flies. And she's in a relationship with Nico Minoru. This is the picture I used, Carolina and Nico. Um, yeah. Anyway, she misses him. He's talking about how she's pretty and
Beautiful.
yeah, they're like teen bonding pretty much. What up, Pablo? And basically, she's like, it's like I don't know what's wrong with me. It didn't hurt when this bad when Alex betrayed us. It didn't even hurt when our parents died. But she's really upset with the passing with Carolina leaving. And he's like, Alex and her folks were scum, but Kay's right. She's one of the good ones, and she's doing justice. And she's like, even the staff of one like being ripped apart from me is different. It feels like better than the feeling I have now. It's just like an empty black hole. Basically teen nonsense, teen drama here. But um basically while they're talking, there's fighting across the room, and the kids are just arguing that Molly here landed on free parking and she took the money, and he's explaining that that's a house rule, and
That
she's like,
really is a house
it is
rule.
a house rule. If you land on free parking, you do not get the money that's there. That's a house rule. And Gertrude,
It's
the
you get to
next
park there
yeah,
free.
it's just you
Nothing
park there for
happens.
free. You don't get shit from there. But
Hated.
Gertrude does confirm it. Gertrude does confirm it, and basically Nico comes out. She's like, "What the hell's wrong with you? You guys gotta shut up. There's a museum above, and you don't want every smelly old person in California to find out about this. California being the cesspool of homelessness that it is." And while that happens, there's the intruder alert goes off. This guy doesn't know what's going on. He thinks his our Victor doesn't know what's going on. He thinks it's the appliances, but it's Cloak. Walks in, and basically, while since no one's done anything to get rid of the intruder alert, the security daemons are activated, and freaking old lace, dude. And basically, these are the security daemons. They're like weird demon people, but yeah. But immediately they get like zapped away from acid rain, and Molly decks the crap out of one here. It's like, oh, what if these guys are mutants? And she's freaking. All right, so I should say Molly has to be the greatest character in all of the runs. She's my favorite by far. Um, like everyone has their own thing, right? Like Molly is just being the greatest character in all of like Runaways. And like in all of the West Coast, Molly is the greatest character to exist, and this is in a universe that Snoop Dogg has attended. Um, so she is the greatest West Coast character to ever exist. Maybe I don't know. The X-Men were in the West Coast for a while, but fantastic. Anyway,
Nah,
Cloak was testing
Magneto's
them.
existed. Nah.
Yeah, Cloak was testing them. He's like, basically, I've seen your skills. They got better, and they're like, you got to save the BS. Last time we ran into you, you were supposed to give us backup. Again, for those that haven't seen the Cloak and Dagger or Runaways TV show, there is a crossover between them in which Cloak and Daggers help the Runaways fight um, Morgan Le Fay, and then the Runaways help Cloak and Dagger fight a like they're in the new show. They're based in New Orleans, so they help them fight some of like the New Orleans type of like if you've ever seen anything like from New Orleans, they have their like very specific voodoo-esque style of characters and like religious figures. Um, I forget the main guy that they fight, but it's like a musician. Um, I think they're called like the Bavets or the Lelays or something like that. The like gods of their universe, but like I'm blanking on the main one. There's like New Orleans characters, god character, Cloak and Dagger. It's like this really famous dude. Yeah, Papa Legba is supposed to be the let's see, let's see. Uh, Cloak and Dagger. This is like a really crappy like TV show version of the character. Um, this is him in the comics. Um, based off of New Orleans. So yeah. But anyway, comic characters. He's like, oh, we ended up taking the pride by ourselves. And he's like, blame your elders. Just as we were about to return to Manhattan to enlist help for your crusade, your parents erased our memory, and we were only able to recall what happened after I got smacked in the forehead. And they're like, and it's like, unless you want another, you got to tell us how you found our new hideout. And he's like, when I absorbed the four of you in my dimensional cloak, I'll never forget the darkness I sense in one of you. They believe it to be Alex. It's like, well, first they make a joke that it's Vic, but then they believe it to be Alex.
So they're
Because
just okay with being swallowed up by this cloak.
yeah, pretty much they're okay with Cloak. Even though half the world is after Cloak, like all of the Avengers are after Cloak because they believed he beat the crap out of Tandy. And they believe that the dark presence that he felt when he absorbed them was Alex, but um, I'm more inclined to believe it's Nico because of the darkness that comes from the Staff of One. If you remember when we talked about it,
Mhm.
it was made by Morgan Le Fay. It has like blood stuff attached to it, so there's a lot of like darkness that comes from this. But yeah. Anyway, she's like, "Oh, how come you didn't bring your wife?" She's like, "Dagger's not my wife. She's my companion, and she's currently in a coma. After being savaged by an imposter of me." And he's like, "An imposter?" He's like, "Yeah, it could be Chameleon, Copycat, Mystique, anybody." Um, and pretty much they have videos and stuff and proof, and he's like, pretty much they're talking about his backstory in this one, how he's like they can't begin to understand the bond that Tandy and I have since we were given the pharmaceutical drugs and awakened. Victor makes the joke that being a drugged hero isn't a good example for kids, and unstable Cloak is kind of all like, yeah, I'm not your role model, bro.
I'm not your role model, Earl.
Yeah, for sure. And he's like, please, I know I failed you before, um, but you're my only hope at justice. I'm innocent, but have no way of exonerating myself. And he's like, I wish we could help, but we're fugitives too. He's like, you may be wanted on this coast, but not in Manhattan. He's like, so we're going to New York, and they're like, yep, road trip, field trip, and they all get sucked into Cloak. And here's Wolverine on the roof. They're hunting him. And he's like, oh, Wolverine appearance. Here's Iron Man coming up. And he's like, yep, Captain Flagpole here asked for my help to track him. And he's like, yep, well, anyone in the hero community is attacked. All Avengers take on extra shifts. And he's like, pretty much he's like, you find anybody? We can't get over what Cloak did. Um, he's like, pretty much we need a local. I'll find your needle in the haystack. We need the kid. And they're like, you go nab your guy and get the kid. Pretty much none of their sensors are working. He can't smell him. He has like every camera in New York and he still can't find him. Um, and they land in New York, get dirted in. And they're all freezing because they're from the West Coast. So they're like, oh, we need like snow equipment. And he's like, Father Latham will be able to help him out. Um, one of the priests at the church, Father Latham brings him in, and pretty much he's all like, what are you doing, that Cloak? You shouldn't have brought kids to help fight for you, and also like it's kind of scummy because he believes that Cloak is like a criminal and should
Mhm.
turn himself into the police. There's a little fun joke about how she makes like a reference to a Bible thing, and he ends up showing her the like tapes pretty much, and it's like Tandy was fighting these like drug users. Look at this guy. Like, I didn't even notice this. I was more looking at this guy who's knocked out. This guy's like freaking upside down, dude. Look at this guy. Pretty pretty nuts, man. He's like his whole body's being contorted. Anyway, this guy comes. He's like, "Greetings, my love," and she's like, "Oh, hey, Tide," and I don't worry, I already took care of. And then the audio gets distorted, and it's inaudible, and we just see Cloak beating the crap out of her and sucking her into the darkness. And he's like, it appears very damning, and he's like, it proves nothing beyond a shadow of a doubt. He basically finds a glove, and he's like, I never wore this glove in my life, and this was found at the scene of the crime. And he's like, "Oh, where'd you get this?" And he's like, "I teleported inside the NYPD stock storage locker and took it." He basically stole crime, and then she's like, "Ah, you stole evidence. You're not exactly helping your case, LJ." Glove, man kills husband kill or partner kills wife or hurts her really badly. Glove, OJ reference. Come on, guys, that was pretty funny. Um, was it not? It was pretty funny. Anyway, um, and he's like, "Who's Dagger fighting?" And before he's like, just a bunch of like drug peddlers. They were dealing with this new synthetic drug MGH, which is called mutant growth hormone, allows addicts to temporarily experience supernatural abilities. This is around 2009 when the comic came out, so it's been a fair while since the events of House of M. I would say it's still lingering around though. Definitely or currently like still lingering around. There aren't many mutants around. So to those that take the drug, they get a boost into their mutant abilities. And basically, he's asking, like, is there any chance an imposter might have taken that drug and gained your ability? And he's like, there is a chance, but why would anyone take my curse unwillingly? Very important character from before was the priest, by the way. And he's like, I don't know, but at least it gives us a good place to start. And he's like, interrogating drug dealers. I'm not gonna let you guys take this little girl into harm. And she's like, hey, who you calling little? But she's like, it's a good point. We got to stay undercover. An 11-year-old will stick out. And then like speaking of cover, and they turned Old Lace into a little bloodhound here, so that they could sniff around and kind of like track people. And basically he's like, all right, Chase and Nico are gonna head out, and Gert and Vic are gonna head out separate ways, and they're gonna look at two different situations. The teens that are dating are obviously like, hey, why can't I be with Gert? Chase and Gert date, and they're like, can't have you guys making out. This is important. And they all head out, and here's them walking by She-Hulk. Here's clickbait of She-Hulk. Even though I probably would have gotten a better clickbait picture of where is it Spider Woman. Yep, that I would say. I mean, either way, both were written by porn star or porn writers, so it doesn't really matter. Um, which one I get. So yeah. Fun fact: because Marvel didn't want to lose the rights to Spider-Man or Hulk, they created She-Hulk and Spider-Woman to counter the rise of DC and the fact that their stuff kept getting stolen by DC, such as Captain Marvel, Swamp Man, Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel, Swamp Man and Man Thing, etc., etc. So they're like, we got to fight this back. So they created She-Hulk and Spider-Woman because they didn't have the funds to pay their the artists and drawers though. They hired like the cheapest dudes they can get to make it, and the only two guys they could afford wrote or drew porn, and so they pretty much drew these guys in the most like adult images you could find. But of course, these characters end up growing into legacy characters and becoming some of the greatest Marvel characters to be. In my opinion, I think She-Hulk and Spider-Woman are some really great characters. Spider-Woman being one of my favorite characters. There's a lot of like really great stories with her. But I can definitely cover these guys if you want. You guys know the link for it is posted the Google form. But pretty much they're walking by and they're like, man, it's super cool to see She-Hulk. They're like superheroes you see every day for these New Yorkers. Um, and she's like, I don't know how you compare nobody to an Avenger. And he's like, yeah, at least celebrities work to get where they are. He's pretty much salty because he doesn't have any powers unlike everybody else. He has like usually he has like metal gauntlets that he fights with, but they got broken or stolen if I'm not mistaken. And so he lost his super toys. And he's like pretty much he's like I don't need any drugs or anything to make me who I am. He's like yeah, basically they're talking about how they don't need he wants he's jealous because he doesn't have any powers, and they're talking about it, blah blah blah. They meet this guy, like weird dude, and they're like, hey man, we're looking for some dudes that can sell us some dark force here, looking for a little dark force. And he's like, you gotta find the pusher man about that. And he's like, where do we find them? And he opens up, and there's literally, I would have taken this guy. I would have arrested this guy, cause like, I mean, he's got a freaking cloak looking thing in him, so I would have arrested him. But whatever. Anyway,
Most
they go into
sus.
this guy, they're like, yeah, last time we it's like, yeah, he's like, what is that? I'm so sick of traveling through dude's stank clothes, and it's like, yeah, it's like the Lion, the Witch, and the disgusting wardrobe. He's like, it's funny because you're the witch, right? Because she has a staff and she's a witch. Funny, haha. Anyway, they're in. There's a weapons detection, like alarm, and he's like, oh, that's me. I just have my pocket knife, and she's like, not you, and she takes the knife and cuts Nico with blood shed. When blood is shed, the staff of one will emerge, and they take the knife from her, or the staff from her, and this guy here is, what is his name? Like Man Peddler or something like that, or what's his name? Pusher Man, yeah, whatever. Um, Not important. Basically, he's like, what do I owe the he's like, so now then let's show these cats what we do to narcs. And while that's happening, Tandy's in the hospital. Captain America was watching over her. He's like, I didn't know you were still here, Captain. I was just about to give Miss Bowen her bath. Should I salute her or what? And he's like, who has she had any other visitors other than Cloak? And he's like, oh, just Father Latham. He's a priest at St. Patrick's Cathedral, big famous place. Um, he spends an extra long time here now that you mentioned it. And he's like, why do you ask? And Captain America basically is just like, we gotta head out and see Father Latham here so we can get some leads. And while that's happening, Gert and Vic are like patrolling the streets. Um, Old Lace here gets a scent of something, and they end up finding the kid. Do you know who the kid is, Addicts?
Nope.
Can you guess who the kid is, Addicts? We did we did mention this character already. To be fair.
I have no idea.
Anyway, he's like, oh, I've been from from Harlem to Coney Island trying to find the signal, and then it leads me to a bunch of kids. And he's like, hey, you freak, don't call me a kid. And it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the kid.
Oh, of
Wolverine calls
course.
him the kid. Yeah, of course. Everything leads back to Spider-Man. Um, and while that's happening, the dude here, he's like, hey, Tandy, I got you flowers. No cards, so I guess they're from a secret admirer. Or you got flowers, no cards, secret admirer. I'll put him over by the window, okay, so you can see him. I know you can't see anything by the coma, but maybe you could smell him. And she starts emitting her light. She's like, oh, what the? And while that's happening, you know, Molly over here, best character, best character. Look at this. Look, box to height ratio.
Taking donations.
Taking donations. I'm pretty sure she has the donations. And she puts them down. She sets them down. And she's like, does heavy lifting also get you to sleep? And he's like, not just that. I haven't slept. I put this in twice. You didn't see that. Anyway,
Goaded.
it's not just that. I've yet to sleep since my partner rested. And he's like, oh, why don't you catch some seeds downstairs? I'll look after the girl. And he's like, all right, cool. And he goes down to sleep. And he's like, do you guys live in this castle? He's like, not exactly. Cloak and Dagger are guests of the church, and I sleep somewhere else. And he's like, anyway, Miss Hayes, I'd like to give you something. Priest, child. Anyway,
All right.
anyway. Um, he's like, oh, the two Gert and Vic are like, holy crap, yes, I'm Batman. There's your one Batman reference, Addicts. Is this? Like, I'll zoom in for those that can't see. Uh, Here's your one Batman reference that you'll get in this. That's it. That's all you get. This is all you get.
I'm Batman.
Yes, I'm Batman. Anyway, and he's like, who are you, the son of Elektra? And he's like, no, I'm the son of Ultron. Who, funny enough, actually, I didn't know this kid up until today, but um, I didn't know him prior to reading this comic, but I did know of him. I play a card game known as Marvel Champions, and I have it here. I got the Vision set today. It's a little booster pack, and of the Vision set, one of the ally cards is is Victor. Good old Victor Mancha here. Good old cybernetic Victor, son of Ultron. Um, yeah,
Great.
yeah, pretty cool. I didn't. It was really what are the odds that that would happen kind of situation. But I just want to let you guys know. This is a really fun game, by the way. It's a PvE game. If you guys are interested, I have a lot of the game, and they have a lot of boosters. We'll talk about this after. But basically, he's like, no, I'm the son of Ultron. He's like, what about you, purple hair? Are you from another planet? He's like, no, but my dinosaur is a genetically engineered. My dog is a genetically engineered dinosaur from the 87th century. Sometimes, and he's like, yeah, I wasn't being sarcastic. Lil Ultron just wanted to see one. Trust me, all the nutty whamma jamma I've seen is this whatever the opposite of skeptic is. He's like, so are we supposed to fight you? He's like, not if you don't want to, but I'm just trying to find Cloak. He's like, basically, something's up real quick. He's cold and he wants to know more about them, so he takes him to a sushi spot. Um, and while that's happening, while he takes Vic and Gert and Old Lace to said sushi spot, and she throws away her shitty New York burrito, which has like pickles in it. Um, the pusher or whatever, the man peddler, I don't know his name, not important character. Is or pusher man is trying to attack Nico and Chase here, and basically he's like basically he Chase tries to talk his way here out of it. Um he's like, you have no idea who sent us, and he's like, you go on, which Boy Scout, New Avengers, Young Warriors, or New Warriors, Young Avengers, where are you from? What show are you from? By the way, this if I'm not mistaken, pre or is it either pre or post state Civil War. Um, but it's right at the same time that that New Warriors team starts showing themselves on the TV. If you remember, the beginning of Civil War was that the New Warriors were trying to catch Nitro, and they filmed it on TV, and he blew up and everyone died. Anyway, um, I can't remember if it pre or post dates. If it was written in 2009, so if it might have been post New Warriors, but I can't remember. Um, Anyways, like, we work for the Pride, and he's like, what? He's like, the hell are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, the Pride's dead. I saw it on 60 Minutes. He's like, oh, don't you know the saying, the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he got blown up or whatever. He's like, I don't believe it. I don't believe they're still alive. And he's like, well, they'd like to work with you too. And pretty much he's like, the Pride know who I am. And he's like a big fanboy. He starts fanboying out, and but he's like, our parents appreciated that a few nights ago. Some dopehead got high and um, dressed up like Cloak and came in and stole my dad's cyber pants. He makes like the shittiest excuse ever, and he's like, my old man needs to know who you sold his drugs to, and he's like, hey, I like the way you roll, little man. Reminds me of me when I was your age, but I can't give away. Um, Pretty much for a while he says he can't, and then he talks about how he killed a man, and he's like, I like you, and he gives him the information, and then she calls her a ugly son of a bee before she bleh, remind me to send Cloak back. Yeah, remind me to send Cloak back to wipe those rejects out. And she comes out, and Nico like kisses Chase, and they're like, oh yeah. He's like, oh, what are you doing? I have a girlfriend. And anyway, they head to the sushi spot, and he's like, oh, so you're Spider-Man's trying to get information here. Like, oh, your parents are villains. Like, aren't all parents? And he's like, well, people who raised me were like really special, and they weren't. They were really nice. I wouldn't be half the man if not for them. He's like, you'd be surprised. Nature and nurture are just excuses. Even kids have free will, and what's an after school special? Yeah, blah blah blah. Pretty much, he's like, I don't mean. They're talking about their parents and stuff, and um, he's like, he's basically he's like, who's gonna pay? And he's like, the guy owes me a favor for stopping Hydro Man, and he's like, don't think free food is gonna get you out of us selling our friend. And he's like, I'm not asking you to betray him. I just want to get to him before the SWAT team does or something. And he's like, but basically they're trying to convince Spider-Man that there's an imposter. Sus. Boom,
That someone's
boom, boom,
sus.
boom, 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 boom. Anyway,
Bum, bum, bum.
and basically he's trying to remove the sus from uh Cloak and put it on the shapeshifter cloak, the imposter cloak. And he's like, listen, I got into this game when I was your age, and feel like a hypocrite to tell you to stay out of trouble. But if you really want to help, best thing you can do is lay low while I try to clear Cloak's name. And he gets upset. He's like, I have powers, and in that book of webs, your photographer friend, with great power comes great responsibility. Blah blah blah. He wants to help because he has powers. And then Gert
He said
or
the thing.
he said the thing. the thing has been said. And then pretty much Nico and Chase show up and they're like, "Oh, what's going on? It's Spider-Man." They talk about how his new suit is lame and how he liked the old black and white one. But pretty much she's like, she gets upset and she's like, "You're in trouble." And he's like, "Stay away." And she shoots Hellfire at him. He makes a joke, "Oh God, Hellfire," when regular fire simply won't do. And he tries to remove the staff of one from her, but she puts him to sleep and knocks him out with a little bit of dream time. And they leave because she got information on the guy that bought the drug off of the drug dealers, and it's some creepy man named Reginald Mans. He traded pharmaceuticals stolen from the hospital where he works for MGH, laced with the same drug that made Cloak. And he's like, she's like, "Did you say he works for a hospital?" And pretty much, cuts to Tandy in the hospital saying like, "Oh, if you keep going like that, they're gonna take you out of here, Dagger, and I can't let that happen. I've loved you since the first time I saw your picture in the Daily Bugle. That's why I brought you here after you were bad to me, so we could be close. I've done everything to be the kind of man you need, haven't I?" And you realize that this weird dude, this guy here, real weird man. I'm pretty sure he's just popping a pilly here. Um, turns himself into Cloak, and he's like, "Didn't you like my flowers and stuff?" And while that's going on, while he's being a weird dude, um, Molly's talking to the priest, and he's like, "Oh, a new phone. Does it have Tetris?" He's like, "What's important is it has my phone number. I can't. I know that the issues because I've dealt with Cloak and Dagger on Runaways, and I want to make sure that to help you and get you back into a family that care about you." And she's like, "Oh, I have a family already. It's the Runaways, the rest of the Runaways." And he's like, "I can't take this." And he's like, "Molly, please. I know it seems like fun now, but you need stability and guidance." And Captain America, Iron Man, and Wolverine show back up. This is a weird look for Iron Man, by the way. Um, does it not?
Yeah, that is very strange.
Kind of weird look for Iron Man here, but whatever. Kind of looks like a Japanese robot mecha. Like he belongs in some kind of anime, in my opinion. Anyway, he's like, "Oh, what are you guys doing here? This is a sanctuary." And Molly, if you guys didn't know, Molly's a mutant, right? But Wolverine doesn't know that, and a lot of people don't. Um, so she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, Wolverine." He's like, Cap's like, "I know that girl. She's one of the Pride's children." She's like, "Watch the door, Shellhead. I'll guard the kid." Um, they believe he's harboring a fugitive, which he kind of is. Wolverine goes and is like, "Oh, this is inconsolable. You get away from her, bub. Don't make this any harder than it's gotta be." And Molly freaks the F out. It's like meeting her idol. She's like, "Can I touch your hair, Wolverine? My friend Carolina said that you use gel, but I think it grows that way because you're a mutant. I'm a mutant too. And I have a poster of you and Dupe in my bedroom." By the way, Dupe is also a really cool mutant. This is Dupe. This is Dupe. In case anyone wanted to know, this is Dupe.
Lit.
Dupe is this like weird bean looking dude. He is in the I'm pretty sure it's X Force. Yeah, he's in the X Force comics. And so funny thing with X Force, right? Um, is Dupe making out with Kitty Pryde? I didn't see this one. This I didn't know about. Um, but um, Dupe is the cameraman on the We're just gonna leave this picture up because this is kind of weird. But oh, there's this Dupe proposing to Kitty? Hold on. This is wild, bro. Um and pretty much all right. Dupe is the cameraman for X-Force. Now, Dupe's powers are like absolutely wild. He can stop time, control like gravity. He can create a pocket dimension out of pimples. Like, dude is weird, right? He's like really OP, and he's the cameraman for like this shitty X Force team where like the dudes are like dying left. Like you got Zeitgeist who can like throw up vomit, or like Dead Girl who's just a girl that's already dead. Or or like there's some really stupid characters. There's the like if you've seen Deadpool 2, the second one, when he makes that X-Force team, it is this, right? Dupe is holding the camera for them, and these guys are going on suicide missions. There's a guy who literally plays Russian roulette every time he goes on a mission. which is every day basically. And he shoots, he puts the gun down, and he goes, "What the hell? Let's go on the next mission." And he goes on the next mission, and he's like, because every mission they go to could literally be their last. On the first mission of X Force, they were sent because like again they want views. Like Dupe is filming them, and they're sent into the middle of like Afghanistan, and their helicopter gets blown out by a rocket launcher, and half of the team dies. And it like Zeitgeist gets like slapped in half by a propeller blade or whatnot. All of this could have been stopped if Dupe just used his powers, but because he's the cameraman, it's comedy gold, dude. Like honestly, like hilarious. And here's Wolverine and Dupe working together. And pretty much here's Skater Dupe. It's pretty fun, pretty fun. Um, Dupe was right. But pretty much she's a huge fan. She's like, I got to post a review in Dupe. And I like the time when you and the other X-Men met the Fantastic Four, and she's like freaking out, right? And Wolverine pulls his claws like, "You get away from her!" And she starts screaming. Never meet your heroes, kids. And while that's going on, you got the Runaways who are like, "Oh, we gotta head to the hospital." Um, riding a magic carpet. And they're like, "We gotta get to the hospital because that's where the thing is." And they're like, "Oh, what about Old Lace? Can we change her back into the Velociraptor?" And it's like, "It'll wear off soon, don't worry." And he's like, "Oh, won't will the wear off? What about this magic carpet? Will the magic wear off too?" And he's like, don't worry, we're not don't worry about it."
Oh my.
And they're like, "What about the cathedral? We got to pick up Molly." It's like, "Don't worry about Molly, she needs the day off." And she's been through enough. She deserves one night off. And then back to this. Molly's screaming. And he's like, "Please stop screaming, Miss Hayes. Wolverine and I aren't going to hurt you. We just want to talk. We just want to have a few mans with a wanted man named." And then Wolverine pretty much sits down. And he's like, "I have heightened senses. You got 3 seconds to stop drilling this hole in my brain." And he counts down. And when he gets to one, he gets smashed across the like out of the church. If you've never been to St. Patrick's Cathedral, it's huge. Um, and judging by where they're sitting, it looks like they're by the front because they're in the fourth seat. So it is a huge, like it takes up an entire city block. It's a huge church. They're at the front, and Molly decks this dude so hard. This dude who has adamantium bones so hard, he goes flying out of the church onto the sidewalk across the street.
He gets Uncle Field.
This is my favorite character by far of the Runaways. Molly is so sick, dude. But anyway, um, they're talking. What's the Cloak shows up and he's like, "It's me you want. Just take me in." She's like, "You gotta run, Cloak. I'll take on these guys." He's like, "We just want to get to the bottom of this." And Iron Man starts receiving messages. He's like, "Hey, they're saying that Luke Cage and Spider Woman just said that they found Cloak in the hospital room." And he's like, "What? How can that be if Cloak is here?" And he's like, "That's my imposter." And Cloak immediately grabs Molly and teleports out to the hospital. Wolverine makes a little joke about, if I won't tell nobody if you don't tell nobody. But back in the hospital, he Cloaks or Dagger tries to like shoot light out to like as kind of like a flight or fight response, and he's absorbing it and trying not to kill her. Luke Cage shows up and he's like, "You gotta leave before I what the hell, who the F are you?" And he's like, "Oh, Power Man, you teamed up with Dagger to fight Tombstone." And he's like, "I still have your article in my scrapbook." And he like grabs them and whatnot, and she's like, "Drop them, fanboy. I don't know who you are, but your mother never should have let you out of your basement." It's like basement dweller jokes. And she's like, "Stop trying to seduce me, Spider Woman. Dagger's the only woman I love, and yeah, Spider Woman can seduce me." Uh, I left another heart down here, bro. Best character by far, man. My favorite. And she's like, "Okay, ill." And he's like, "Be cool, Spider. My friend here doesn't want to hurt me. I'm not Power Man anymore. I'm Luke Cage. I got a kid. You wouldn't hurt a dad, would you?" And he's like, "My old man ran off when I was just a baby." And it's like, "What do I care about fathers?" And he chucks Luke Cage at Spider Woman, and they get it's like, "Oh, this is gonna be," she gets smashed out. It's like stuck between a rock man with unbreakable skin and a hard place. Tragic. Anyway, um, Cloak grabs Tandy, and he's like, "People always gotta tell me what to do," and he heads to the roof. And he's like, "Yeah, usually the evil ones usually are grown ass men." and he's like, I don't recognize you people. You guys are new. And he's like, please, New York, new Avengers. The new thing is just is just another way of saying old. And she hits him with a sunburst attack, which is like a light attack, and he drops her, but he gets back up real quick because he's like, I absorb light, and it only makes me stronger. Quick um science lesson for y'all. Um, if you ever see something that's completely white, um, say this book, right? Got some white corners here. It means that it's reflecting all the colors of the spectrum. If you see something that's black, it means that it has absorbed all of the lights of the spectrum. So it is why characters like Cloak and Evil Cloak here can absorb light because darkness absorbs all the colors of
Yeah,
light spectrum to be black,
makes sense.
right? So this black shirt I'm wearing is absorbing all the colors of the light spectrum, and that's a quick little science lesson for you kids. Anyway,
Thanks,
um, Gert falls off the roof when he blasts them back, and
Doctor Micro at his finest.
yep, scientist Micro here. And anyway, Gert and Old Lace fall off the roof, and Victor jumps off to try and like save them. He makes this like ramp, um, and then um, pretty much while that happens, Chase is up top, and he's like, "If you listen, male nurse, if my girl is so much as bruised, I'll destroy you." And he makes like a real ass joke about it. He's like, "I hate you, stupid jocks, always bragging about your girlfriends. Now I've got one too, and she's a lot prettier than your fat girlfriend." And it's like, "Oh damn, bro, why gotta hurt the homie like that, bro?" He's like, "I hope your health insurance sucks." And he's like, you can't. He's like, you might as well give up now. My body's full of the best MGH in the city. You can't touch me. He's like, that's a good tip. And he basically grabs the staff of one and he's like, detox. And he toxifies him, turns him into like just a regular dude, and his just starts throwing up all that cloak drug. And pretty much they get together. He's like, oh, how did you do that? I don't know, but I'm never doing it again. Um, And Tandy gets up. She's like, What's this? What's going on?" It's like, "It's over, Dagger. All that. That's all that matters." Cloak and what's her face? They teleport back, and he's like, "Oh, you're alive. Where's Kurt and Old Lace?" And they're here. He's like, "Oh, don't worry. We should get out before the police arrive." And Tandy's like, "Cloak, where are all these people?" And he's like, They're our friends. I'll explain everything, but I gotta return our saviors. For now, just stay here and let the Avengers handle your assailants." He's like, "Yeah, Wolverine, Mr. America, and will probably be here soon." He's like, "Oh, you guys met him?" He's like, "Yeah, but they were stupid. Superheroes are for little kids. Never meet your heroes." And pretty much they talk about how it's time for Cloak and Dagger to find a new city of protection, hence New Orleans. And right before they enter Cloak, they're like, "We got to talk about that tongue slip. You're not gonna tell Gert." And he's like, "Don't worry, as long as you don't tell her what I told about killing that dude before, I won't tell her about it." And pretty much they head out. They're about to head out. Dagger's like, "Oh, I remember you from the Prides from Los Angeles, right? Where's Alex?" And pretty much he's like, "He's gone, just like our parents. You can't expect them to all stick around forever." And that's the end of the comic. Um, Pretty much it ends with Alex here spying on them. His new team is kind of spying on them. Um, but that's pretty much it for Cloak and Dagger. I know this was a little more Runaways oriented. I did cover the 4-issue miniseries of the Runaways. But it was pretty good. It was a little nice Cloak and Dagger comic as well. Talking about how, Cloak's on the run. He needs help from the Runaways because all the Avengers are after him. And yeah, it's pretty much it. There's a lot of other comics I did want to cover. I really wanted to cover the um X-Men Uncanny X-Men Utopia comic in which they are undercover. I would have loved to cover this one, Cloak and Dagger Shades of Grey. Um, there's another one that I thought was pretty interesting. What is it? Cloak and Dagger, Cloak, Cloak, Shadows and Light. Let's see. Let's see images of this one. It's really another one of their Shadow and Light. It's one of their earlier issues. This is a really famous like backdrop of them. I would have loved to have covered this one. Um, but unfortunately, this is another 4-issue miniseries, and I thought the fact that because Cloak and Dagger are very much separate heroes, and they show up at different times. But yeah, they're still really great heroes, and there's a lot more I really wanted to cover with them, but that's pretty much it for Cloak and Dagger. I've run the hour and a half here, and Addicts, I gotta ask you before we go. I need a grade on Cloak and Dagger. You can grade them separate or together. Do not mind.
Well, I really like Cloak.
Hmm.
Give him a 7.
Okay.
Dagger to me is just kind of like there.
There. She's just a there kind of character. I would say she does make a lot more appearances than Cloak. She's been in a bunch of different rosters. I think she joins the Avengers at one point. I mean they both do, but she's in a lot of different teams, and especially in this comic, it's pretty much Dagger running her own show, being her own hero, and Cloak trying to like do the same, but being unsuccessful because of said like I said, he Tandy helps feed off his darkness. Um, but I have to say these characters are really great. I might both give them like eights. They're really great. And they're a nice yin and yang style of character. But again, if you guys do want me to see a different character, I am doing all your character recommendations on the Google Forms here. I have all of your characters here. So if you guys want, just make sure to vote on the forum, and I'll take your characters into consideration on who to do next. But that's Cloak and Dagger. If you guys want any information on the PvE Marvel Champions card game, or um, any more character recommendations, comic recommendations, anything you want to talk about if you guys want to talk about any recommendations I can make for the podcast, you guys can do that at the Gmail, and the YouTube is up to date. I will post this week's episode or today's episode um, as soon as it downloads. But yeah, it's pretty much it. I'll see you guys all next Monday for a new character. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.